Goeiedag allemaal. We zijn hier met een exclusieve podcast met Jonathan Gilthorpe. En we nemen even de gelegenheid bij de baat om met jullie te praten over Noordgroep en wat dat Noordgroep eigenlijk allemaal inhoudt. Jullie weten misschien dat SVD zich gaat inspannen om dit project te ondersteunen en ons best te doen om dat aan te kaarten bij de beleidsmakers hier in België. So, Jonathan, we are very glad to have you on the show. And we would like you to explain, not too short if it's possible, what Noordgroep is all about and how did it start and where you were going to. In a short way, just explain to the viewers what is Noordgroep.
Yes, thank you, Dick. Pleasure to be on the show. So Noordgroep started from it's an initiative from Dr. Jan Rungby, who's a Danish doctor. And then a group of like-minded, doctors, scientists, citizens in the Nordic countries. We've been raising our voices in different countries in different ways since the start of the COVID vaccine rollout to say, hang on, this is not good. There are too many people reporting injuries. The technology is dangerous. There are a number of potential, really harmful possibilities for shooting lipid nanoparticles into people with RNA in them, but generally we're called conspiracy theories and no one listens to us. So what we decided to do was, off the back of the initiative from Australia, from the Member of Parliament Russell Broadbent, who sent a letter to the Australian Premier, and also the TGA, which is the drug administering body in Australia that dealt with the authorization of these mRNA products, to declare that they'd identified very high levels of DNA contamination in vials of Australian Pfizer Moderna vaccines. And this is not, limited to Australia. These things have been known for some time by the work of Kevin McKernan and others that have detected DNA contamination at very high levels in the vials. Mm-hmm. So we decided to start our own initiative, initially in the Nordic countries, but now it's spread throughout 18 countries in Europe, to write a letter to the heads of state, to the also to the health ministers, or depends on how it works in your country, to say you need to stop administering these products. There are serious concerns about their safety and this potential contamination of DNA. And so we wrote a letter which really covered three main points. The first one was that these COVID vaccines were never tested for their ability to block transmission of virus. Mm-hmm. And this was known by the regulators. It was known by the authorities that this wasn't the case, that they wouldn't stop. But, we were all told to take a shot to protect granny. No one was safe till everyone was vaccinated. And this relied on the vaccines blocking transmission. And that was a lie. So this was used to coerce people into taking these products, believing that they were safe, believing that they were effective, and they aren't. Mm-hmm. The second point that we raised in the letter was that there are unprecedented levels of side effects for these products that have never been reported for any medicine in the history of pharmacovigilance, it's called, where you follow up and look at the safety of a drug to see whether its benefit outweighs the risk. So, they're just off the charts, the amount of side effects that have been reported by people and by doctors, medical professionals about these products. And this needs to be checked. You can't just let it roll on forever, slowly covering up your trail and making out these things are not associated with death, with menstrual bleeding, with heart problems, etc. The third point that we raised then, Dick, was about this DNA contamination, which really is this is a rolling ball now. There's more and more evidence that the DNA contamination in the vaccines is very high. It contains sequences that should never have been in these final products and should not be injected into people. But the administrators are, again, just trying to sweep this under the carpet and declare it as misinformation, but it isn't. And we're not going away until there is a stop put to these products because they're dangerous.
So we are very glad to back up this project because it's one of our key points of our new movement in Belgium. So we were, in fact, warriors against the COVID situation in our country. We did a lot under names and other organizations, but we have a lot of people in Belgium who are very concerned. Yeah. So I think the main project of your project is backed by doctors and scientists and people who knows what they're talking about. So the reason you send the letter to the governments is to make aware that the citizens don't take it anymore, and they want something like, I don't know what you're pushing at. Do you want some legislation to be done, or do you want to help people accountable for what they did? Because we see things like that doing now with President Trump coming in America. There's a lot of talking going on that they will take, they will hold the people responsible for what has been done in the past. So, is this the same approach that you want to do with Nord Group?
Well, let's start in the beginning, Dick. We need to make sure that that these products are stopped, that they're not injected anymore into people until there's been a complete review of how these products got authorized in the first place, why the side effects have been swept under the carpet, why the normal procedures for developing vaccines take many years and are done very carefully, and why have this suddenly been rushed out in 10 months and everything has just been ignored. All the safety warnings that have shown up have just been swept under the carpet. So we just need to stop this first, because when the next pandemic comes, we've been promised new vaccines within 100 days. That's what the European authorities are trying to put through. I think they might have even agreed on that now. So there won't be any time to test these on animal models, or to show even in clinical trials that they're safe. They just want to go from the concept of a new vaccine designed on a sequence to something going into people's arms in 100 days. So what COVID showed is that even if you do it in 10 months, these products are disastrous for health. So we just need to stop it now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think holding people accountable is something that comes further down the line. There's an awful lot of legal process and money required to do that. And I think one strength that North has, though, is we've now got momentum within the European countries. Yesterday, we announced that Belgium had joined, and that's fantastic that you and the organization SVD have been involved in getting that to happen. And also Croatia joined. So now we've got 18 countries, I think, across the European Union or the European Economic Area. The goal is to get all countries by shortly, within the new year. And then we need to follow up the letters that have been sent to get replies. And also to follow up with new data that's come out showing that DNA was detected actually in the bloodstream of 75 individuals in Australia. In another study that was published, nothing to do with this, but if you go in and look at the sequencing records, Kevin McKernan and others have shown that these people that were injected with the vaccines from Moderna and Pfizer had DNA in their bloodstream 2 days afterwards. So this shows that it gets into people. It's not just in the vials. It's not broken down as quickly as claimed. And the key part of this is that the authorities are working off limits for DNA within vaccines and other biological, products at very low levels, because they claim, well, it's just broken down quickly in the blood. But this isn't packaged into LNP. This is a delivery vehicle that's very efficient at getting things into cells in the body. So the old limits don't apply to these medicines anymore, but the authorities haven't updated their regulations to take, that into context. So they're putting people at tremendous risk here, and it needs to stop. I think what we can, if we can get country.
Regarding the accountability, are you going to the source of where is this COVID coming from? Because there is a lot of conspiracy talking about that somebody injected or created this COVID nonsense. Of course, I can put myself as somebody in charge for a country or for a region, and when you are facing such a threat like this pandemic that we had, COVID in the time, of course, you need to act, you need to do something. And I can imagine that they did the wrong things. They wanted to go ahead with the vaccine, and they wanted to do it very quickly. But of course, there's also the matter of who's winning by all that, the financial matter behind it. And like human beings are, there is a lot of people who are became very rich with this COVID nonsense. And there's a lot of people who are jumping on the train, and they say, okay, we're going to do that. And are those people also responsible? So it's an ethical matter, of course. We cannot take everyone accountable. I'm sure there are doctors who in their conscience, they did the right thing at that time. And now, years after, we are showing, like you say, there are enormous results showing that the wrong decisions were made in that time. So what we're going to do, I think, with Nord Group is receive the attention that it needs to have. Of course, they have the attention, but they all classified like conspiracies and things like that. And with Nord Group, you have the power of scientific people, doctors, and people who are aware of those things and can prove it with a lot of facts that indeed there is a lot of things to be done in the future if we want to fight against such things. So
I agree.
With SVD, that was one of the reasons why we would like to become very active and participating in this operation. Of course, yes.
Yeah, I mean the point of, you make a very good point about where did SARS-CoV-2 or the whole COVID thing come from. It happened very conveniently in an election year in the US, and it resulted in a lot of things happening there, which we were then provided with these two possible alternatives. Either it somehow sprang out of a wet market in Wuhan, or it was somehow leaked from a lab in Wuhan. But there are clear signs I am a molecular biologist, and I realized this very early looking at the sequence that was provided. There are clear signs that this was engineered by humans. And since then, there have been a number of studies or publications that have shown various aspects of the virus which just don't fit with it being something natural, despite the fact that it's the origin has not been determined or reviewed, and it's quite ridiculous that we would spend trillions of dollars on a response and then gear up to do this again for the next pandemic, if it's monkeypox, if it's going to be avian flu or whatever, without actually determining the origin of this thing. So for me, it's very clear that it came out of a lab. It was released deliberately, I think, and these stories of wet market versus lab leak have just been constructed in the media in order to throw people off the trail, and nobody has yet declared, we are going to show the origin. Where did this actually come from? There are brains on the planet that can work it out. I promise you that. It's just misinformation from authorities leading people astray. Because like you said, this is a huge financial thing, particularly for the pharma industry. It enables vaccine passports to be introduced, limits on people traveling unless they fulfill certain criteria. It also enables enormous amounts of money to be blown into the system, which pushes inflation. Inflation we're experiencing now is not due to Vladimir Putin or something that happened in Ukraine. It's due to the money that government spent on shutting countries down and then trying to keep the economy going by reinflating it. That money has to end up somewhere. So it's absolutely true. There's a much bigger picture here, but we're just trying to stay focused for now on the tip of the spear, which is to show that these products should never have been approved, and they should never be approved again until the technology is sufficiently safe that it could be administered to people. And it's my view as a scientist that doing this through LNPs, where it just gets spread like a shotgun throughout the body, and then you express a protein on the surface of those cells, which will then get your immune system to come in and kill them, will always lead to injury. And those injuries will be very non-specific. They might be in vascular, in the blood system in some people, in the heart. It could be the brain in others. It could be kidneys, ovaries, mammary glands. So, we're going to see diseases we are seeing diseases increase, like certain forms of cancer in the young, very advanced, rapid cancer, which has been labeled turbo cancer. This didn't exist before these products were introduced en masse into the population. Yeah. We've seen drop in fertility or live births in many countries, and that seems to track also with the rate of vaccination. So, you know, this is a colossal problem, and we just need to stop it first.
We have enough warning signs that everywhere it's a global problem. It's not a problem related to one country, and that's why your group, the Nord Group, is much important, because when we are united with a lot of countries, we can do more. Only Belgium or only Finland or whatever country cannot wait so much as the whole total of countries, and I hope a lot of countries will join. I see certain countries, because you talk about the Nord Group, but why not France? Why not Spain, Italy, and things like that? We need to reach out to those people also.
Yeah. There's a number of other European countries on the way. They're gathering signatures now or translating the letters. So we hope within the next couple of weeks we will have all the EEA countries on board, and then potentially other countries that want to join as well. All they need to do is translate the letter, send it into their prime minister or head of state and health minister.
Yeah. Well, you do a great job. It's a lot. People don't see it, but it's a big job you are doing. Absolutely. Respect to you, Jonathan, for everything you do.
Yeah. Thanks, Dick.
So, let's not talk too much. There's certainly a lot of things we need to talk about in the future. Maybe we can have one day another call, a second one, to tell our viewers how it's going and how this project is giving fruits and results to whatever we are doing. So yes. So thank you for your time, Jonathan, and I hope to see you soon again.
Thanks, Dick.
Let's hope this project is a big success, and that the heads of the governments will take their responsibility.
Yeah, well, if they don't, we'll force them to eventually. We'll get enough on board.
Okay, thank you, Jonathan. See you. Bye-bye.
SVD, we zijn hier voor de mensen, voor een betere toekomst, luisteren naar jouw wensen. Open en eerlijk, dat is ons beleid, samen voor democratie, we zijn altijd bereid. Van noord tot zuid, we maken ons bekend. In elke stad en dorp zetten wij een nieuwe trend. We luisteren naar burgers, hun stem is ons kompas. Geen extreme, maar een politiek die past.